Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the EcomXFactor podcast. In today's episode we have with us Matt Tanguay. In this episode we talked about user experience, conversion rate best practices and much more. We covered a lot: pop-ups, mobile pop-ups, checkout optimization, recommended platforms, crucial UX elements, common mistakes store owners do, and much more. Really a lot of valuable content in this episode. This talk covered a lot of practical advice and Matt shared a lot of cool tips and easy wins which you as a store owner can implement today easily in your store and really skyrocket your profits. In regarding to UX and conversion rate optimization, you can do small tweaks that can be worth a lot of money. So this is why this talk is so full of value and so relevant for any of you store owners. So I highly suggest that you check this talk out and please enjoy this conversation with Matt. Hi Matt, how are you?
Hello, Yaron. Very good yourself.
Awesome, great. Where are you based? What time is it over there?
It's 8:30 a.m. for me. Didn't sleep much last night, but all good. So I'm in Montreal.
Cool. Yeah, Quebec. So you speak French and English?
That's it. I used to speak a little bit of Spanish, but I kind of lost everything. Lost all of it.
Cool. Yeah, but for me, I think once you know one Latin language like French, Spanish or Italian is much easier to pick up. So like I also speak Spanish because I used to live in Mexico, and now whenever I hear French, I kind of get the idea. So it makes sense.
Yeah, it's quite similar. Yeah, if you know English and French and Spanish, French is going to be easier for you, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, great. So before we get started, get into all the juicy stuff, because I'm very excited about this podcast because I know you're all about CRO and I love anything about split testing and optimization. So can you share with the audience a bit about your background, what you're doing these days?
Sure. So my focus right now and for the past 6 years, I would say, has been to help 7 to 8 figure e-commerce stores to just increase their conversion. So by improving their user experience. And I've been working mostly with agencies. So I'm starting to build my own clientele right now. Excuse me. I'm starting to build my own clientele right now, but I've been mostly working with agencies that have bigger clients and just subcontracting, basically white labeling for them.
Cool.
And my main passion project, if you will, is I'm building a community as well. It's called EcomConvert. I have a Facebook group. Cool. So that's been my current focus.
And how did you start? Like, how did you find yourself in UX and conversion rate optimization? Did you study it or like in a degree or something like that? Or you just started marketing and saw interest in UX?
Right. So the way that I came into it is my background is actually in IT, so computer science. I did a bachelor's in computer science in Quebec at Laval University, and then I worked several years in that field. I was a consultant. Excuse me, I just woke up.
All good.
So I was a consultant for many years and doing programming and analysis, and then I tried different things. I went into business. I got incorporated, started a business, and then I was trying different things. I started obviously in IT in my field, but due to certain circumstances, I kind of left that field behind and I tried different things. And it took me several years to finally ask myself, what am I passionate about? Like, what do I really love to do so that I could, build a business on something that I'm passionate about instead of just trying different things that don't necessarily love that much.
Yeah.
I was trying to follow my interests, but I hadn't found really something I was passionate in until about 6 years ago. I literally asked myself one day, what's my passion here? Well, what do I really love to do? And the answer to that for me was analyzing the kind of the user experience and criticizing websites. I had been working, on the web and building things like that before, but just analyzing it and giving feedback and trying to improve it was the answer for me. So it kind of led me to e-commerce after that. I specialized in e-commerce, but it started with just analyzing the user experience of a website.
And do you find it interesting more because of the numbers or more because of the psychology behind the numbers? But because for me, I know I love studying psychology, and I feel like user experience is like a vertical in psychology. I love thinking about the consumer behavior, less about the numbers, strictly about the numbers. So what is your approach regarding this? Do you like the psychology or the numbers or the mixture?
So I would say I'm more on the psychology side of things than the metrics, although as part of the audits that I do usually, I also look at the analytics. So looking at the numbers is also very important, but my natural gift, if you will, or my natural quote unquote genius is more on the just the being in tune with what users are going to like and not like, what they're going to be frustrated by. I just kind of had a natural feeling for those things. And then of course I had to do a lot of research and look for proof of my intuition. And then sometimes the research was against my intuition. So I had to kind of refine my skills around that area, but it was more on the psychology aspect than the numbers.
Makes sense. Yeah, cool. And in your opinion, how do you define e-commerce user experience? How do you define it? For people who don't really know what is user experience, some people think it's similar as CRO, and some people don't even understand what is CRO. So how would you define e-commerce user experience?
Right. So to me, the user experience starts from the first contact until post-purchase, right? After the purchase and the lifetime of that customer. So the whole time it's the user experience with your store. So whether they buy from you or not depends on your experience of the store, right? So things like, I have a little list here, things like trust, social proof, the quality of your products, your pricing, whether they are able to find what they're looking for or not, having good search, good copywriting, the design, the flow of your checkout from the product page to the thank you page and after that as well. And what else here? Making personalized recommendations, cross-sells, upsells, your return and shipping policy, and much more. So they're like all of these elements are basically defining the user experience that they're having with your store.
Yeah. And you mentioned before that you help mainly 7 to 8 figures businesses in regarding to improving and optimizing their landing pages and the whole funnel, the user experience in the funnels. But do you think that any beginner, anyone starting with anyone starting his own store, should they be aware of user experience? Should they worry about the user experience? Or you think it's just a step that really needs to be taken into account way later when you have already a lot of traffic and a lot of sales?
Well, I think they should look into it at least a minimum, but it's not really the first priority. I think when someone is just starting out, the most important is just finding product market fit. You want to find the right product for the right audience, whatever that means for you, right? I mean, how you choose your niche will depend on your experience and your background and what you're interested in. But finding products that your audience that you choose really want, I think is your first step anyway. So that goes before the user experience. The user experience is more when you're building a store and you found that product market fit, you know what kind of products that they want, and you have something of quality to offer them, then the user experience will come into play to optimize your conversions at that point. But if you don't have the right product for your audience, even if you have a good user experience, you're not really going to convert in the first place. Right, so you need both, but start with product market fit.
I agree. I spoke with a friend of mine, like when I just started, and I told him about A/B tests that I've been running, and I said, you shouldn't worry about the optimization. You should think about the conversion. So before you have to get the conversions, and then you start optimizing and thinking more about user experience. So I totally agree. You should get the product market fit, see some sales, and then further optimize. Until you don't get the first positive signals, there's no reason to go ahead and optimize. Optimization is the definition of taking something that is already good and improving it. So it's something to take into account. And regarding
well said.
And regarding optimization, so a lot of starters, what there are mistakes that you see that they are doing, repeatedly doing, what mistakes or what misconceptions do you see within the people who just started their journey in e-commerce or their UX experience designing journey?
Right. So just on your point about having something good first before optimizing. So I think just having that lack of product market fit that we just mentioned, I think that's the biggest mistake. They just find some product that they like and then they don't even think necessarily about the audience and their pain points and all that stuff. So that's really the basics. Also, I think a big one before the UX consideration as well is if you don't have some sort of differentiation. And actually, yesterday I had an interview with a multiple 7-figure store owner for my group, and one of the big points that came up is that he really took the time to build something unique that's not offered on Amazon. There's not really other stores offering those products. His products are really unique for his audience. And I think that sort of differentiation is very important. Now, in terms of UX itself for your store, whether that's on desktop or mobile, some of the mistakes that I see often, especially the ones just starting out and that just put a store together, usually not having a professional logo and brand. At least you don't need to put a lot of money into it, but just even on, I guess, someone on Fiverr or Upwork, a freelancer can create a nice enough logo that looks professional. It just has to be good enough for you to start, and then you can improve it later. But having some sort of professional brand, professional looking brand and logo is very important. I also see very inconsistent styles for the images because they pull that up from AliExpress or whatever provider that gives them the photos, and they're different styles and it doesn't match at all. So having some sort of consistency in your design for your product photos is important. So I usually recommend, once you have sales, invest into getting your own photo shoot done of your product so that you can have consistent styles for your images. Another one here that I have, so that one kind of makes me laugh. So when they have 2 products in their store and they have the layout of a store that has hundreds or thousands of products, with lists, and you just have these 2 products that are listed, it kind of looks silly, right? So you want to have a layout that's kind of adapted to the size of your store. So you could have just a single, honestly, when they have 2 products, usually what I recommend is just to have a 1-pager or even more like a single product. Then I tell them, just have your own page be sort of a landing page about your product, give all the information, have the add to cart button there. You don't need 5 pages for one product. Right?
Yeah, agree.
Couple more thoughts here. When they have no social proof or trust. So it's a new store. I understand it's hard to get reviews, get testimonials, get featured on magazines, but do your best to have some sort of proof, some sort of trust, so that people that visit your store will actually, consider you as like a valid store that they're going to trust. Yeah, trustworthy, right? The last one that I see often is full page pop-ups, and this one is dangerous because Google penalizes on mobile. Sorry, I should have specified this, but on mobile, Google penalizes websites that have full page pop-ups that interrupt the experience. They will penalize your rankings, so you have to be careful about that. So those are the main ones. There's many more, but those are the main ones that I thought of preparing for this interview. I think you have to be careful of those.
Yeah, I agree about all of them, and I just want to add another thing about the pop-ups. So I like the fact that you made a distinction between mobile pop-ups and desktop pop-ups. I think for me it goes without saying, and I think that anybody who is experienced in CRO or UX understands that a pop-up for mobile is different from a pop-up in desktop. And for example, in mobile, you should use maybe a flyout instead of a pop-up. And you need to make sure that the closing button is obvious. And like you can really mess things up with a bad pop-up in mobile. I see a lot of store owners that they have a pop-up in the mobile, and it really ruins the experience. And so you should make
especially if you show it too quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you should
Sorry
make
to
a
interrupt.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So for sure, you need to make the distinction. And one thing regarding showing the pop-up up. So do you suggest like exit intent pop-ups, or do you use like some sort of formula based on the exit time people were in the average exit time people spent on the page, or how do you throw pop-ups in?
Yeah, just off the top of my head, relevancy is what matters the most. So you have like context matters, right? When you're showing that pop-up and for which reason, and is it linked to what the user is actually experiencing right now? So for example, if they're going through an article, having a pop-up that offers something related to that topic makes more sense than just having a general pop-up. Sure. Or if they're just landing on your site for the first time, it's not the right time, in the first 5, 10, 15 seconds to show them a pop-up. They just landed on your store. They want to see what it's about. All right, so context matters more than anything else. I have one of the best practices about pop-ups in my list. Like I have a list of 195 best practices on my site right now. So one of them is about pop-ups, and I have a lot of details and thoughts about pop-ups and research that I've done on that. But off the top of my head, relevancy matters the most, like context, and also on mobile, just I'm French, so I have French words this morning. Just to specify the about mobile pop-ups, usually it's better to have maximum 15% of the screen, not a full page, but it can be just a little flyout in the bottom or at the top. That's easily swipeable, or X to close, like you said.
Yeah, agree. And for me, for my desktop, I use exit intent pop-ups. So whenever someone scrolls to the back arrow, so the pop-up flashes. But for mobile, the majority of the programs, they don't know how to show the pop-ups. Some of them just show the pop-up whenever a user starts scrolling up. And this might ruin the experience, because maybe if you have the add to cart button on the top of the page, so you're interfering in the middle of the user navigation. So for us, based on many tests that we've done in mobile, we throw in the pop-up at around 75% of the average time spent on the page of buyers. So this is some sort of formula that we've gathered after we tested. So just a thought for everybody who wants to optimize their pop-ups. And pop-ups can be very, very effective. Obviously, the fact that you mentioned that, it's because it's very effective, and you can gain a lot. You can improve your conversion using pop-ups, and you can also get a lot of new leads and sign-ups to your newsletter and improve your retention using pop-ups. So I think people might be overlooking pop-ups, but they shouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why people overlook them, myself in the first place, because they can be frustrating, right? It kind of disrupts the experience a little bit. But if they're relevant, they can really work. And your exit pop-up is a really good idea. Like looking at your analytics, I do mention some stuff about that. Like you have to look at the average kind of time on site, and then trigger your pop-up around that time.
Agree.
Good idea.
And once people start to make sales, let's say, okay, people are converting already and they know they have the product market fit. So what are the first steps you would suggest them to do? How should they approach the optimization?
Right. So at that point, I mean, there's kind of 4 main aspects to your store that you should optimize. Starting with the product page, but also the home page is really important. Your product listings, or what I call the category pages, and also your navigation. So having a really good streamlined navigation for your header and footer, and some menus and category pages, etc. And of course, you want to optimize your cart, your checkout. So, I mean, you should go through the whole website, your search, not just a search page, but a search box with auto suggestions, and like there's all of the aspects or all of the components of your site. You should do test and optimize, but I would recommend starting with the product page. I think that's the most important. And then depending on how you see it and depending on your platform and how optimized it is by default, I know that Shopify is really optimized for mobile, for example, for the checkout.
Yeah.
It still has things that I recommend to improve if you can, if you have Shopify Plus or something like that. But it's pretty good on mobile, for example. So in that case, maybe optimizing your homepage and your category pages would make more sense. So it depends on your store. But all of those are really important. My big recommendation is test, test, test. And not just in a sequential manner, not just like I know a lot of people do this. They test, they'll make a change and then they'll look at their analytics, see what the impact is. And then they'll do another change and then look at the analytics. But the problem with that is you don't know if there was an external factor, just a normal change in behavior, you know, throughout the seasons or whatever. So you have to split test if you can.
Yeah, for sure. So, and which tool do you suggest using for split testing?
I do have a list actually that I've published that I'm listing several tools. Full disclosure, my focus is more on the UX analysis and the audits more than the actual testing. I'm currently building an expertise around the, you know, setting up with tools, you know, with Google Optimize or Unbounce or all that stuff, VWO. But not quite there yet. I'm doing some projects right now to build more credibility around that, but right now I'm more on the auditing side. But I do have a list if you want to check it out. So I think it's on my blog or the best practices.
Yeah, we can share it in the show notes. For me, I use Google Optimize. I love Google Optimize. It's free. It has all the features that you need. Obviously it integrates beautifully with Google Analytics. And you can also do a split test, which is very common. And also you can do multivariance test, which is something very interesting, but you need a lot of traffic in order to utilize it. You can throw in a few variations of each section in your product page. So for example, if you want to test 4 different FAQs, 4 different headlines, and 4 different quotes, you can throw them all in to Google Optimize, and then Google Optimize is going to test all the combinations in one page. So for example, how this FAQ works with this headline and with this quote. And it does hundreds of different variations. And then you can get a better understanding of what works well together. Because a lot of time when we do a split test, we change something. And as you mentioned, we change something, but the fact that it's not producing better results, it doesn't mean it's a better page overall. And maybe it's producing better add to cart, but it might be harming the conversion rates. And maybe it's just in this market, it's improving in this market, but it's not improving the overall retention. So a lot of things to keep in mind when optimizing and split testing.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a free tool. I think it's a good start for people just building their store and starting to make sales before paying for a tool for optimization. I think Google Optimize is a good option.
For sure. And you mentioned something interesting, the fact that each platform has its own constraints. So which platform do you usually choose using? Because for me, I don't like Shopify anymore because of I don't have enough freedom. So I prefer using WooCommerce because I feel I can optimize the checkout more. But what are your thoughts regarding like a platform?
So my clients usually have, interestingly, custom websites. So what I've observed also in my research is that most of the big brands have either fully customized, like built from the ground up kind of stores, different APIs. I'm not really on the technical side anymore. I used to be a programmer though, so I don't know all the details, but what I've observed is that most of them either customize a existing platform enough so that it appears as fully customized, or they actually built it from the ground up. But to get to that point, I think you really need to be making a good volume of sales.
Yeah.
You can be making multiple millions on Shopify or WooCommerce, or BigCommerce is another good platform that I hear a lot about in terms of value for money and like the features of the platform. Which at this point, if I were to choose a platform between those three, I would probably go at this point for a big commerce. But I know there's a lot of advantages for the other two as well. It really depends what you're looking for.
Yeah, I totally agree. And when working with the big brands, so do you see, like, how would you say is the big difference between the big brands and what the smaller dropshippers or e-commerce store owners, they do? What do you see any like big distinction between the practices and how they, obviously they build differently. And as you mentioned, most of them, they customize and the branding is right in front of them and they invest a lot in branding. But what would you say are the major difference in the UX experience and something that maybe smaller brands can look up to the bigger brands and get inspired and improve with no real costs involved?
Yep, that's a really good question. I think a lot of the big stores have put quite a bit of effort into improving the experience for the user, and they, like you said, they have a good brand. You know, it looks good usually. Their brand is way more defined than the new store. Also, they have usually a really good search. They'll have usually good product images, good quality product images. They'll have multiple per product. Like they've done the grunt work of building their store and having good information, good copy, etc. Some stores test much more than others. I know some stores, for example, that's part of their culture. They'll just split test all the time, optimize all the time. I know Amazon, for example, is always testing, right? But there's a lot of big brands that don't test so much. I know stores I've worked with like in many millions, but like 8 figures and more, but they were not testing at all. They just had success because they had a great product. They had, you know, amazing marketing, but they did not really put the time to optimize their store itself, which I think it's a big waste of money, right? I mean, and not to optimize, but to not optimize, right? Yeah. I mean, if you're not optimizing, you're basically leaving a lot of money on the table.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah,
I mean, that's the things that they see. The other thing that I would add is they usually have more. I mean, they're more established, but they usually have more trust and like trust factors, trust badges. They'll have more credibility in terms of being featured on different places, or just the fact that people know them, they trust them. I think that's a big difference because the new stores, they don't have that as much, so they have to work at it. Whereas the big stores are established, it's much easier to trust them.
Yeah, I agree. For me, I look a lot on the bigger brands and see what they are doing. But a lot of time I remind myself that they probably have a huge team of marketers that are getting paid a consistent salary, and they don't really care about the performance. And the fact that ASUS has, I don't know specifically about ASUS, but ASUS or a different brand, the fact that they have a huge following and a huge brand, it doesn't mean that they have optimized their store. And it's even more likely that maybe smaller dropshippers who are putting their own money in Facebook ads and gaining from the optimization or investing more time in optimizing. So I am inspired a lot by bigger brands, but on the other hand, I do remind myself that the fact that ASUS is doing something or a different brand is doing something, it doesn't mean it's the right way to do so. And sometimes they get in front and they get sales regardless of the fact that their funnel isn't so good.
Right. So, I mean, it's like Amazon saying that, oh, Amazon is doing it this way, so I should do it this way on my store. Not necessarily, because again, there's the user experience of your store, but there's also, like you said, your brand, your marketing, the products that you have. So, and the fact that they're established or big brands. So a lot of people are going to those stores regardless, like despite of a bad experience.
Exactly.
And my point about that is if they were to optimize their experience, they would do even better.
Yeah, I agree.
But they're doing well despite of that.
Exactly, despite of the fact that they are not optimizing. So what else have you seen, like in a lot of big brands you see, but you don't think it's the right way to do, and you see a lot of big brands ignoring like the best practices? Can you give more examples?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have a bunch of examples here. I don't know if we want to maybe share my screen a little bit for some of those, but I've listed a few here that I've noticed that even the big brands don't always get right. Some of the stores I've looked at do, and some of them don't. It really depends on the element. But for example, and just for the record, I think the big brands usually are doing more things right than things wrong. Usually they're more on the positive side, right? Which also explains part of their success. They're doing things right? That said, there's still certain things that they could definitely improve. For example, a lot of stores will only have 1, 2, or 3 images per product, no video, no GIF. Do you say GIF or GIF?
I think GIF, but yeah, okay. Graphic, because it's from the Growth graphic.
That's it. I agree with you. So a lot of stores don't even have product videos, and they have huge budgets, for marketing, for photography and filming.
Yeah.
They could afford to create some videos. I don't remember if it's on New Balance websites or Nike. It's one of those stores that sells shoes. I don't remember which one, but when you land on the product page, I thought it was really neat. You have 2 columns of product images and then the product information on the right. But what's really interesting is the second image is a GIF, right? So you have the static image and then you have a GIF, which really draws your attention. And it's not hard to do, right? It's just you film someone wearing the shoe, takes you an hour, you have something good for that product, right? And honestly, I thought it was really powerful. It really showcases the product, and it's just a simple GIF, right? You don't need a high-level production team to create a 30-minute video of the product. No, you just need a short 5-second GIF or a short video that just explains or shows the product. So that's one example. Also, the cross-sells, what I see on the product pages oftentimes is those recommendations of other products are not relevant at all. I think on Amazon, they're more relevant than other websites, but on a lot of big brands, often what I see is those, what other people like products are not even that relevant to what I'm shopping for right now. So it's just kind of a random selection from the same category. It's not really personalized. So there's a lot of improvement about that. What else? If your shipping is not free, you should have some sort of shipping estimators on the product page, ideally, or at least on the cart page, so that your shoppers don't have to wait to the checkout to know how much it's going to cost for shipping. So having some sort of shipping estimator based on your location that you can quickly have an idea of the shipping cost. Most stores don't even do that. They just wait to check out. I think Amazon does it, right? They give you the price right away, but a lot of stores don't even do that. And the shipping fees and the other fees that come as a surprise are the number one reason for cart abandonment.
For sure. People don't like that.
So how stupid is that to not optimize for those big brands, right? They should. Next thing that I see is having a persistent cart. This one seems kind of obvious. If you go back to the site, you should still have your cart items in there. If you come back on your browser and your desktop or even on phone, within at least a few days, you should keep the cart persistently so that the user doesn't have to refine those products and then re-add them to their cart every time that they land back in the store. And me, as someone that audits websites and just goes and looks at those big brands all the time and adds products to carts and looks at the behavior and all, it's really frustrating for me even just to have to do it all the time and re-add products to the cart.
I agree.
So I can imagine as a shopper that's going to be frustrating as well. Another big one is, I know I'm just going through a whole list here. If you want me to expand on some of them.
No, it's great.
The next one I would say is having an address finder in a checkout. So usually on the checkout page, in the form, you'll have, the street address, the apartment number, the city, the postal code, the country, right? So that's 5 fields that you need to fill out. At least the first recommendation that I make, if you don't want to go for an address finder, and I'll explain that in a second, you should at least have some sort of automation or auto suggestions based on your postal code. You can, or a
auto completion
in the US, auto completion. But even better than that is to have what I call an address finder. So you start typing your address and then it gives you a list of suggested addresses based on the data entry. So there's no mistakes possible, right? You just select the right one, or you can keep typing until the right one appears. You just select that and then there's no mistakes there. And it reduces the number of fields by 4.
Yeah, this is amazing. But do you think it will also work in mobile well?
It does, yes. It's a very similar experience on mobile and desktop. Just like the little kind of pop-up displays.
Like a drop down, some sort of drop down.
Yeah, exactly. What's next? I've also seen that a lot of them don't have some sort of way to contact them in the header. So making it really easy to access help or live chat or a contact page or something that allows you to contact them, or even putting your phone number in there or possibly your email address, which I've seen sometimes on desktop and not as often. Sometimes, more often it's more the phone number at least. But having like a help link or a live chat link, especially if you don't have it already in the bottom right. But having some way of contacting the store easily, not have to look for that, that's one important. And a lot of big brand stores don't even do that.
I just want to add something regarding this. So we've added, sorry for interrupting, because it's very interesting, something that we've added to the chat. We have a Zendesk chat in our product pages. And we've added, for each product, we've added 3 most frequently asked questions in the chat that are related to each product. So let's say we're selling a shirt. So we've added a few questions related to the sizing of the shirt in the chat. And this really improved the conversion rate by like 0.5%, which is a lot. So adding like frequently asked questions to the chat might be also an interesting practice that people should implement.
I think that's a smart idea. Do you also have a section in the product page like for the FAQ, those questions?
Yes. So what I did, I saw that in my customers' behavior flow in Google Analytics, I saw that a lot of them, after the product page, they went to the FAQ section, to the FAQ page. So I figured, okay, I might as well add the FAQ section to the product page. And obviously we did this and we tested this and it really improved the conversion. So on our end, there's no way we're going to upload any page without an FAQ specific section in the product page.
So you have both basically. You have like lower on the product page, you have a section for the FAQ, and then you also have in the live chat the FAQ.
Exactly. In the live chat, it's like only 3 most related questions. Right. So it's not like a whole section of FAQ regarding the shipping time, the blah, blah, blah. It's not this. It's only like the most crucial questions about the product.
I think that's really smart. Actually, I'm gonna probably add that to my best practices.
Great.
Good stuff. I like it.
Awesome.
What else do I have? The search box, when you click in it, either in on desktop or mobile, that applies for both. What you want to do is you want to show previous searches, you want to show popular searches. Usually there's also like a clear link to kind of clear that out and clear your search history if you want to start over. But having something that kind of gives you suggestions based on your previous search history or other people's popular searches is a real good idea. But a lot of big brand stores just have a search box and then it's kind of static there. There's nothing that happens when you click in it. But again, a lot of those stores as well, like other stores, do that pretty well. So it's just there's a few of them that don't do it. I would recommend that they add those features in the search. And in category pages or product listings, featuring products will help, like at the top or different sections like Amazon or something like that. Definitely helps to reduce the amount of choices that a user has to make a decision. Right. So there's a correlation or a reverse proportional correlation between the number of choices and how likely they are to buy something. Right. If you're overwhelmed with options, it's much harder to make a decision about what you're going to get. And so if you help them to make a decision by reducing those options, by saying, hey, these ones are really great. There are featured like best selling products or
Exactly.
best quality, best return for ROI for money, or just featuring some of your products. Amazon, if you want inspiration, Amazon does this fabulously. They have several sections of different angles to look at products and featuring some of them. So I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, and it's also easy to implement. You can just, if you can take an image of the product and you can add in Canva, you can even add a badge, like a ribbon on the corner and say best value or most popular. It doesn't have to be even like in the back end, nothing, you don't need even to develop it, even though it's pretty easy in WooCommerce or Shopify. You can just select it to be based on the best sellers or featured, but you can even manipulate this just by manipulating the image.
The image. Absolutely. Yeah, that keeps it really simple. And I think you have two options. Either you add a section or a few sections at the top of your product list with featured products, or you just keep your normal product list and then you, like you said, you add the labels on the product images to say top seller or best brand or whatever it is, right? To feature those products.
And another part regarding this, so I know a lot of dropshippers are looking in bigger dropshipping stores in order to get inspired and get ideas for products that they can sell. So a lot of time I tell people just look in the homepage and see what are the products that are featured in the homepage, in the hero banner or in the top of the product section. Probably the store owner, if he wasn't that stupid, so he placed the best-selling products at the beginning of the page, so it can give you an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Another point that I would make is I've seen a lot of stores not have dynamic color swatches. So in your product list, what you'll see often is you have variants for those products, right? You have different alternatives, different colors, for example, different textures or whatever it is. And you'll have these little circles with like a filled out color in it, like red, green, blue, etc. And if you have, the problem is on both desktop and mobile, if you have, let's say 20 variants, what do you do, right? Do you show only 10 of them or 5 of them? The best thing that I've seen in terms of user experience is to make it interactive. First of all, so if you click on one, it should refresh
the image,
the thumbnail, right? And also to be able to scroll through those options, depending on how many you have. If you don't have too many, you can show them all, right? It could even be on 2 lines if you want, but making it dynamic and scrollable, interactive and scrollable is usually a good idea. So you can quickly browse through the variants. You can click on one, oh, I like that color, and then you click on the product and you go shop for it.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's, I think, so dynamic, interactive color swatches. And a couple more that I have here, and then that'll be it, I promise. So adding...
It's awesome. I can continue speaking about this for days.
I just want to respect your time and your viewers' time. I don't want them to get bored. But I'm very passionate about it as well, as you can tell. Another one is there's...
ETA.
There's an expectation for your shoppers to know when they're going to get their product. They want to know, right? Even on the product page, to look at the product. Oh, that's interesting. When am I going to get it? Right? If I buy it now. So they don't want to have to do math in their head of saying, okay, that's 6 to 10 days. So now it's 22 of April, and it's going to take, okay, so it's going to be there on that date. They don't want to have to do math in their head. So just tell them when they're going to get their product, like estimate, maybe you can get it May 1st or May 1st to May 2nd or something like that. So I think that's one important.
Just use an app or a plugin for WooCommerce that estimate. There's a lot of apps and plugins that you can enter in the back end how many days normally the shipping, like a range, let's say 7 to 10 days. And then whenever the buyer enters the product page, he gets the estimated date. And like you said, we're in as store owners or optimizers or marketers, one of our responsibilities is reducing friction. And people, they don't want to think too much, and they don't want to start calculating. And very often they order a specific product for a specific event, and they want to make sure that they get it before the event. So using the dynamic estimated day of arrival of the product is very crucial.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And the last point in my list here is
Mm-hmm.
back ordering. So this one might be a little bit more controversial, but I recommend usually to, and I have some research to back that up. And one of the members in my group actually tested it out and got, I think, I don't remember the number, but got a few dozens of thousands of dollars in orders in a few days additional just by allowing people to add to cart elements that are temporarily out of stock, right? So we're not talking about a permanent outage, right? A discontinued product. That's not what I'm talking about. Just when your products are back order, right? You're out of stock currently, but it'll get back into stock in a couple of weeks or a month. Allowing your shoppers to add those products to cart anyway.
Cool.
Allows you to make a lot more sales, because if you what I see a lot of stores doing is they have this email notification, right? Email me when it's back in stock. But the problem is that by then they purchase on a different store. They went to the competitor, right? So you don't want to lose them. So what's a good idea is you just tell them, hey, this one is out of stock currently. We estimate it's going to be back in stock in 2 weeks. Purchase it now. There's gonna be additional delays on shipping, but you're still gonna get it, right? And they trust you, they like you, you have the product that they want at this moment, so you're not gonna lose them you're much less likely to lose them as a customer by allowing them to purchase it anyway.
Yeah, I agree, and it's also a no-brainer because you have nothing to lose. You only can gain from this as long as you're going to get the stock soon. So why not doing it?
Yeah, and that said, you can also recommend alternatives, right? For them, if they don't want to wait, you can say, hey, these products are comparable. You can look them up, but you should still allow them to purchase that one, because if they know what they want, that's the one that they want. Yeah. And they don't mind waiting a little bit more, they should have the option of doing that.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. A lot of interesting stuff. But you haven't mentioned page speed. What are your thoughts regarding page speed?
It didn't make the list, not because it's not important. It's one of the most important things, of course. And I have a lot of research about the impact of speed on conversions and loyalty and a lot of different metrics. But I just didn't mention it because I thought it was pretty obvious. I wanted to opt for things that are a little bit less obvious. But yes, absolutely. Optimizing loading speed is crucial. So you have to kind of balance that with the user experience. And always kind of keep an eye on the loading speed when you make changes and you add videos or you make changes that might affect the speed. You have to keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, I agree. This is why I wanted to emphasize this, because a lot of the stuff we mentioned is elements that might reduce the page loading time. So many people are very afraid of adding the GIF or the video because of the page loading time. So some people, they just don't add any of the visuals because of the page loading time. And some people completely ignore the page loading time. But I think, as you mentioned, you should balance it out. And obviously, you should split test everything. And based on your split testing, you see what is the correct approach. But page loading time shouldn't be neglected. And also using these elements shouldn't be neglected. But you don't have to clutter your page with too many applications and additions if you see the page loading time is too slow, because obviously page loading time, as you said, is so crucial.
Absolutely. Well said.
So how would you, let's say I came to you and asked you, what are the 3 most important elements in conversion rate optimization, or UX user experience? So how would you decide what are the 3 most, like generally speaking?
Oh, okay, that's a really good question. Let me think about that for a second. I mean, speed is definitely one of them. Since we're on the topic, I would put them as a top 3. I would say the quality of your product information, and I include the product images in there. Just basically the product page, having like the professional images, good copy, just describing your product visually and textually very well, I think would be another one. A third one, I think, would be related to shipping fees, offering free shipping, for like fast shipping,
Yeah.
something that has to do with shipping.
Makes sense.
That's what comes up to mind right now.
Yeah, sure. I kind of ambushed you with this question.
Yeah, no, that's all good. I mean, like all of them are important to different degrees, but that I think those three. I mean, of course, you have to optimize your checkout. You have to, like
sure.
all of that is important. Your homepage has to give a good impression. Your category pages should have good filters. All of that is super important.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those three pop up more for me right now.
Cool. And do you have like, I know you spend a lot of time auditing bigger brands and seeing their funnels and seeing what works and what you like. So do you have like any like few brands that you really love what they are doing and you know that their UX experience is awesome and you can suggest that people want to see what is good UX, we can point them out to like specific brands?
So what I would say about that is there's elements from each that I like. There's not one store that I've been blown away that has all the components of a good user experience. Usually they have some things that they're doing right, some things that they're doing badly.
Yeah.
I've looked like while building this list of 195 best practices right now, it keeps growing over time. But while building this list, there's about I think I had 18 stores, 18 big brands that I've looked at throughout these best practices to give examples as sort of a benchmark. And some of the stores that stand out, there's Adidas for me, there's ASOS. Let me think for a second. Adidas, ASOS. Just thinking which ones are really good. Crutchfield is pretty good. B&H, and maybe maybe Ray. Yeah, we'll have to think about that. But like, it's mostly elements from each, because if you look at the examples that I put on each of those best practices, they come from different stores for each. It's not always the same stores, but usually ASOS, Adidas have some good, really good, they're across most of the best practices. So I think those two for me stand out the most.
Cool. Interesting. And something that popped into my mind, what are your thoughts regarding like clickbank products and affiliate products that are promoted with VSL, like video, and they don't even show an add to cart button at the beginning, and you need to scroll down, like long form product pages. What are your thoughts regarding long form product pages and VSLs?
So we're talking about a post-click landing page. So you have ads that drive traffic to like a long
ads that drive traffic directly to like a video. Only a video with a story, heart-crushing story from ClickBank. And what's interesting about them is that they don't show you even the add to cart button in the first 4 minutes. And their approach is we don't want people that didn't engage with the video and didn't watch the video for the first 4 minutes to even be able to do the addition to the cart. And obviously they are doing well. So I'm wondering, what is your approach regarding like long form videos and long form landing pages?
That's a really good question. I think as a general answer to that, landing pages, like post-click landing pages, tend to work better than sending your traffic directly to your product page. And sending traffic to landing pages in general, not just post-click long form landing pages, but landing pages such as a category page or even your homepage, usually tends to convert better than your product page directly. Now that said, in terms of VSL, I don't have much experience in terms of VSL for e-commerce. I did work with clients that built some VSLs for consulting. I know that can work well. Funnels in general, it depends on your products. For example, the guy that I interviewed yesterday is in the, his niche is, I don't know how to describe it. It's products for muscle building. I don't think there is just natural products for to help you build more muscle. But the problem is if the ads send the traffic directly to the product page, Facebook would probably ban those. Those ads. So he sends this traffic to a
pre-sale page.
Yeah, a pre-sale that has I'm just looking for the right term, but not a survey, but a kind of a questionnaire based on your objectives.
Mm-hmm.
I want to build more muscle, I want to lose some fat, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of qualify you. And then he sends them to, I think, another page that's before the product page, and then he sends them to the product page or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a 3-step funnel,
Yeah, the
and
quiz
that
funnel.
works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it works a lot better for him.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, one of my big recommendations is to test out landing pages for some of your products,
Mm-hmm.
post-click landing pages. So you send traffic to a page outside your store.
Mm-hmm.
It can convert a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. And any tools that you've been working lately that really surprised you or really made you more efficient, or you can recommend to the audience, like game changers?
One of the tools that I think is underutilized, or one of the types of tools, is things like a Hotjar, Full Story, Lucky Orange, things that give you insights as to the behavior. Because everyone has a Google Analytics account, everyone checks out their metrics or has metrics directly on their platform, but not a lot of stores actually take the time to look at the behavior of their users on their site, and kind of analyze the friction, where the friction points are, and try to improve the user experience, and also inform ideas of tests for your store, right? So that's how you get some insights. And also, that's not a tool per se, but I would say doing some customer interviews would be a must if you want to get insights as to where to improve. Talk to your customers, and too few stores actually do this. They just take the sales and they put the products, but they don't actually talk to their customers that much. Just ask them questions, get their feedback, either an on-site survey or get on a call with them, or a video call, or emails, whatever you can do to get some feedback from them as well.
Yeah, totally agree. Two interesting insights. And regarding like Lucky Orange and Hotjar, do you mean viewing the recording of the sessions, or more using the heat maps, or both, or how would you?
Both.
Yeah, obviously. All the time.
There's no shortcut. There's no magic bullet. Just one is going to give you everything. No, you need to both.
Yeah. For me, as you mentioned, seeing the recordings, I use Lucky Orange, and seeing the recordings of users, especially in new product pages and new landing pages, is very beneficial. You get so many insights, because you can never know what will work and what creates friction in the mind of your customer. So using Lucky Orange, in my opinion, is very crucial. And something that you mentioned also regarding asking your customers. So I think a very important tool that can be utilized is an exit intent survey. So once people decide to leave the funnel, you can ask them a few questions and show interest and understand what created the friction. So you can ask them, why did you decide to leave? Is it because of the shipping time, because of the price? And then they give you an idea, and you can also program the survey so it will compensate them. So for example, we created the survey, and whenever a customer said that the price was too high, we gave him a discount. And whenever he said the shipping was too long, so we tried to address his objective by saying, yeah, the shipping is long, but we provide the tracking, and if you don't get it by the date you expected, we're going to give you a discount. So you should address our objections using an exit intent survey, which is also a powerful tool.
Yeah, I think the exit intent is a good idea. You could also ask some interesting idea that I've seen recently done by another agency is they ask their customers, not the ones that left, but the ones that actually purchased. They ask them something along the lines of, what would have made you not purchase from us, or like what almost made you not buy from us, or something like that.
Yeah.
So to know what would the friction points, it's kind of the same thing, but for the ones that actually ended up buying anyway.
This is exactly the question that we ask them as well. On the thank you page, they have a survey, and we ask them what other products would they like to buy from us, would they love to that we have in the stores, and exactly what you said, what almost prevented you from buying. And this gave us so many insights. And based on these insights, we also added products, and we also added answers to the FAQ to the FAQ section in the product page. So these are two very powerful questions that you can ask, and they already bought from you, so you don't have to be afraid that it creates any friction. The opposite, it shows that you care, and it gives them creates more trust and improves the relationship.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Awesome. Wow, Matt, I enjoyed this so much. I already want to book another call with you. Any closing thoughts, final tips to the audience regarding what we spoke about?
Yeah, I would say the most important is test. And I know that it takes time, it takes energy, it might cost you something to have the right tools or have the staff to do it, but you're going to get so much benefits from actually getting insights from those tests. Now, in order to test, you need to know what to test, right? Don't just test everything and you don't know exactly what's going to, or no hunches as to what's going to work, and you just do random tests. No, you're going to waste your time. So that's why UX and CRO kind of go hand in hand. Right? The UX gives you informed hunches as to what's going to improve conversions and your other metrics. And then CRO allows you to have a systematic kind of ongoing process of testing, right? Those hypotheses. So test, do some UX research first, or an audit or whatever it is, but have some UX thinking about your store as to what creates friction for your users, what is a good experience for them, etc. Get some insights from them, and then take that information and test based on those hunches, right?
Yeah, I like the definition of informed hunches. Yeah, it's definitely informed hunches.
You never know, right? You have to test it. I mean, there's things sometimes I'm surprised. I'm like, that should have worked. That should have worked.
It's more often I find out that I was wrong regarding the test. I consider myself someone who understands user behavior, but obviously the test, you can be surprised very often.
That's it. And just as a call to action for people watching this, I've been, and I know that you have a community as well, and I'm going to talk to my members, bring them to your community as well. But I have, like I mentioned in the beginning, I have a group called EcomXFactor. So it's a good group, a good community focused on improving your conversions, improving the user experience of your store. So it's not just a general kind of group about e-commerce in general. No, it's really more focused. So if you want to have a better user experience and get some more conversions and sales, it's a good group for that. So EcomXFactor, and I give a free mini teardown to any member that joins. So I'll spend 15 minutes looking at your store and reviewing it and giving you some feedback.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, we will share the link in the show notes. And you also mentioned the free ebook that you've created regarding the best practices. So can you elaborate a bit about this? Because I think it can be very beneficial for people to download it. So can you share a bit about this?
Sure. So I'm currently redoing my website, but it's already on there. If you go on matttanguay.com, on the homepage, there's an image of the ebook. You can download it. It's a big ebook, though. It's like 1,041 pages. That's and good. 163 megabytes. It has a lot of examples, a lot of pages. Cool. But it's free. You can download it. It has 150 of the best practices. And if you want all of them, the 195, just click on best practices on the site and all of them are listed.
Awesome. Great. Yeah, I definitely downloaded it and put it in a drive so I can take a look whenever I need like inspiration or ideas. It seems it's awesome book.
Thank you. I mean, it's a V1. It's a first version. I'm going to work on a second version and making it a lot better. But and redoing the website. I want to improve the user experience of my website as well.
For sure.
But at least the content is there now, so you can consume all of it.
Cool. Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. It was really a pleasure. A lot of interesting stuff and crucial stuff for our listeners. And yeah, I really appreciate you coming on the show and looking forward to hearing from you again and collaborating.
Yaron, it's been a pleasure. Honestly, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to your audience as well and try to give them some value. And it's been a great pleasure for me to get to know you as well and interact with you.
Awesome. Great. Okay. Bye-bye. Take care.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.